What's going on, everybody? I know. Late as always, but we're here. So let's get the music playing. I am and how it leads up. I'm going to attempt to show that later on. So first we'll get to these streams and let everybody relax a little bit, listen to some opinions and some thoughts and some observations, what I want to call it. This is what StreamYard is all about. Analysis, a lot of different groups, a lot of different people, ages, all over, different topics, and hope you guys enjoy. Let's go.
Who mastered the drunken style, Emmanuel Augustus, the boxer who turned chaos into a fighting style. He danced, he staggered, he dropped his hands, he looked off balance, or at least that is what he wanted you to believe. Because while his opponents were trying to understand what they were seeing, they were already missing their punches. Every movement looked like a mistake, but it was a trap. Every step looked out of control, but it had a purpose. Every second you hesitated was a second Emmanuel Augustus had already won. Many believed they were fighting a showman. In reality, they were facing one of the most unpredictable boxers the sport has ever seen. So unpredictable that years later, Floyd Mayweather admitted he was the toughest opponent of his entire career. Not because of his power, not because of his speed, but because he was impossible to figure out. Because some fighters win by imposing their boxing. Emmanuel Augustus did something far stranger. He turned confusion into a weapon, and he reminded the world that sometimes the man who seems to have lost control is the only one who knows exactly what he's doing. The man who mastered the drunken style.
I don't know if anybody know this guy. What's up, big dog? I don't know if anybody ever heard of Emmanuel, but he was tough. And I'm telling you, he used to irritate the shit out of everybody. When somebody go find that fight he had with Floyd, he gave Floyd everything he wanted. And the only reason why he never became a champ like he could have been is because of that style right there. But I'm telling you, he was good. He was good. What's going on, Chief? I am the drunken master. Yeah, that boy was tough. Get a chance. You guys like boxing. Watch that fight he had with Floyd. Interesting. He damn sure could take a punch. All right, let's go on to the next one. Chief I am said the ODB of boxing. I like that one.
Brooks, who stopped eating 17 years ago, claiming that all the elements we need to survive are in the air and an occasional glass of fruit juice. This is called breatharianism, and if it sounds hard to swallow, we're going to find out now from the man who knows. Would you please welcome Mr. Wiley Brooks? Here he is. Wiley, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
I want to ask you something. You haven't eaten for 17 years. You have not had a sandwich, a hamburger, hot dog, pretzel, a piece of roast beef, fish, vegetables, nothing for 17 years.
Right. Well, let me explain what breatharianism is first, if I might.
All that sounds disgusting, bruh. Like, he mentioned every meal that they eat. You know what? Nigga said a pretzel and all that. Man, get out of here.
Breatharianism.
But you haven't eaten for 17 years,
right,
as we know it.
Right.
Okay.
No, I don't eat. Yes. Breatharianism is a philosophy that believes that the human body, when it's in perfect harmony with itself and nature, is a perfect breatharian. Now, all of the constituents that we need is taken from the air we breathe. And the fact is, there is only one thing that keeps the human body alive, and that is breathing. The food that we take is the same as any other thing we take into the body, as it becomes a habit. In other words, eating is an acquired habit, just like drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes.
Mm-hmm. Well, does that mean that when a baby is born, you don't have to give it anything to eat, no milk or anything?
No, that would only work if the mother was a breatharian. Because we don't come into the world as breatharians from mothers that are breatharian, before we even get started, our blood is poisoned. You see, we already start at a disadvantage when we're born. So because of that, a person needs to be an adult, and that's why I don't even lecture people who are young about being a breatharian. First, you must kick the habit of eating. You see, we don't. Yes, that's right.
He laughed like, you know how much money that gonna cost? You killing the whole system. He laughed. That was one of them laughs like, I gotta laugh right now.
How did you kick it?
Yes. Well, in my case, I had a real good reason for wanting to do it, and that's the reason. That is the thing that will help anyone.
Go to a bad restaurant every night, that'd do it, wouldn't it?
That helps too, right? But my main reason was that I was getting old, you know, and I was my hair was falling out, and my father bald very early, and of course the answer was that it's hereditary, and I hear that all the time. Every time a person stumps his toe, it's hereditary, you see. But I didn't accept that, so I did not want to get old. I was 28 at the time, and I'm almost 50 now. Well, 46. So, and I decided.
Let me tell you how you're killing me, saying, would you believe, Tom, I'm 97 years old. I said, holy cow, look at this guy. This is unbelievable. You know?
Well, I like to say that sometimes, but the feeling is, and what I found to be an important thing to inspire people to look into this, is the fact that all of the things we've heard about, we must get old and we must get weak. And I think I heard when I was a younger person that a man is twice a child and once a man. And that is not the case. When a person gets older and wiser, he should get younger. He should not die in an unhealthy body. And this is very important. The issue here is not whether I want to die early or whether I will live a long time or not, and that comes up all the time. But the quality of life that I live is the most important thing. And there is no way of having perfect health or perfect happiness without having perfect health. So,
do you breathe, do a lot of deep breathing and things to get the whatever is in the air that's good for you into your system?
No, I don't have to do that. And one of the reasons why I was insistent on finding out how the body worked is because I had always heard that the human body was created by the Creator in perfection. And obviously, if something is created perfect, there's nothing you can do to it but make it less perfect. And that's exactly what man has done. The body was created perfect. It needed nothing but the breath of life, which comes from the creative source, God or universal intelligence or whatever name you want to put on it. In that state, man was perfect, and all that we have done to it is that we have taken it from that perfect state to a lower point of consciousness. And that is why our environments and everything that is in our lives are where they are, because of the quality of our blood.
You live in Boulder, Colorado.
Yes, that's true.
They have nice air there. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's right.
What if you live, forgive me, now this is a great city I'm going to mention.
Yes,
what if you live in Secaucus, New Jersey? You know, I mean.
It would be a problem.
Oh, what?
I think it would. Now, maybe I'm not right. I shouldn't say that so directly because I'm not too sure about Secaucus. But I know there are a lot of industrial plants in Jersey, right?
Yes, sir.
And that would be a problem. And that is one of the major problems. But clearing up the problem does not happen by trying to do it from the outside. It must be done from the inside. Man's environment is the direct representation or the reflection of what man is himself. So actually, to clear up our environment is necessary to clear up the blood of the people. You see, once a breatharian is probably more concerned with the air than a person who's eating everything.
How many breatharians are there in this country, would you say?
I don't know of that many. I know of several people that have, for instance, there was a young lady who stopped eating when she was 9 years old, and she didn't eat anything for 10 years. And there are other people that are at varying degrees of breatharianism, you see. So there's another thing that's...
I got to ask you this one on the air, and you're asked it all the time.
Right.
We read that the hunger strikers in Belfast died.
Right.
Now here is Mr. Wiley.
The real truth about it is when I really did quit claim this territory back in what it was 2001, and actually more recently, when I found out that they said I could not actually, would not transfer it, that's when I sued. But I didn't know that I didn't have to sue. So I sought help to teach me how to litigate.
Right.
I was taught how to litigate, and now I do know how to litigate.
Yes.
Thank God, because
yes.
I have a criminal case.
Yes.
And I don't have to be under the auspices of a lawyer who's going to say, you got to pay $250,000 because there's so many indictments. No, they don't even know what my situation is. They can't even help me. All they're going to do is escort me into confusion and into the jail. I know exactly what my situation is. No one can defend me like I can defend me. So I'm not worried about these criminal charges because they're fraudulent.
Yes.
There's no way a quitclaim of a nation for their property that is patented to them is a lien. It's not a lien.
Right. It can't be.
It can't be a lien. Not when you already own it. It was stolen and it belongs to you.
Yes.
So that's not a lien. And it's not an encumbrance because even they say, oh, the person encumbrance on their property. First of all, they don't really own it. And this is the thing. You think, well, oh, these people are innocent. They don't know. Wish they were innocent. Here's the thing. A lot of the properties, and especially the bulk of the properties that I quitclaim are on Smith Beach Road. That road contained all of us, the Indians, the Accomacs, my grandmother's cousins, herself, all her people. Those people, the last person that actually owned land on Smith Beach Road was a Negro Indian named Tom Smith. He's the last one that actually owned the land. Someone came along named Tom Hickman, added the Smith, said it was his mother's last name. Tom Hickman Smith added his mother's last name, came in the auspices of looking like he was Tom Smith, the Indian. So heirs property is what Smith Beach Road. Indian property is heirs property. Heirs property is Indian property. Negro property. It's all the same.
Right.
So that whole road out there, everything on the waterfront is heirs property.
Yeah.
Now you see what she just said? Said Indian's property is heirs property. Heirs property is Indian's property. Negro property. It's all the same. People say, hell no, I don't want to be no Negro. This is what I'm saying about suspect classifications. You can even say at a certain point in time, Indian could be a suspect classification in order to do something, because in the Indian status, my research, that gave Congress an opportunity. I didn't say the right, I said an opportunity to start creating all these other classifications and these terminologies like dependent to encumber. Because if this first time I'm hearing of this video right here. Now, if they're trying to hit her with criminal charges, talking about, oh, this quick claim, created an encumbrance or a lien or something like that. What are you doing? You're taxing people on the land that you don't own through the auspices of utilities. So, come on now. But this is the whole premise of what they do. We can do it, but you can't. We know we're crooks, and you're not. So don't do how we do. This is our game, not yours.
And so these people, let's say you go look on the internet, you see a house, it's $300,000. Your whole backyard is the bay. Waves crashing in, you can hear them, right? You can look at them from your backyard, sitting by your fire. That's amazing price, right?
Right.
$300,000 for a crashing. Well, let me tell you something. The house that I quitclaim, I only quitclaim one property for me, and that was the house that I've been looking at since before 2001. And that house, I was like, this is my territory. These are my people. I didn't really understand the inner workings of the patents and all that kind of stuff. I knew this was my people's territory. I just didn't know how it worked, and I didn't know all the details of us having patents and being the Indians. But now, because I do know it, I know that everything I thought was
So
true.
your bad experiences turn into a blessing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then when I went to that house that I quit claimed, that house actually sold in 2000 and let me get my years right, 2008 for like 180,000.
Wow.
For beachfront. Then it sold in 2018 for 80,000.
Because they can't get a clear title because it's patented property.
Right. So they saw how fraudulent.
Yeah.
They have to join an LLC in order to have a house on that waterfront. You have to let the LLC own it. You are only it's only in care of you. You can't have the land. You can't really own the house you kind of own, but you can't own the house without the land, really. Okay. So technically it all falls
right. It all
LLC.
falls together. Yeah.
Right. So why are you saying property? See, she's saying property. This is where it could get dicey for her because of the way she's using the terminology. It's movable versus immovable, right? Everything movable is considered a fixture, even the dwelling /house/home. That thing can be picked up off the ground and carried somewhere. You can call that real property, but you better put the real in front of it. But the land is immovable. You're purchasing the land and all the fixtures on top. That's including the grass, because it's dirt. Okay? Just remember that. It's the land. It's the land. It's the land. And then you could call it real estate of your family, but you're purchasing the land. If they got a problem with the property, tear it down, bulldoze that thing and build something else. But if that house was built, that dwelling was built by your ancestors, you could prove that based on going to look at the schematics, the blueprints of everything, then yeah, you don't have to. Because all they have is a lien. That lien is connected to the taxes. Really, the Treasury controls it based on they now having control of the waterways. So everything works from water. So yeah, land, sister.
So you don't pay taxes. It's really crazy. They don't pay taxes. Yeah, because they can't own the land. So that's the kind of wicked, evil scams that are dead on those properties on Smith Beach Road. And people here give away hundreds, I'm not even kidding, hundreds of acres for $0 every day. Judges take you and put you in jail and give your property to their friends for $0. It's in the tax records.
Really?
That's right. That's right. I know that firsthand knowledge. That's what they do in California. That's what I'm saying. When they do these unlawful detainers, what out here they call it unlawful detainer, which is a landlord-tenant, under landlord-tenant jurisdiction, is they go in there, utilize the court system, the judges, to operate in an administrative procedure, calling you a tenant based on a mortgage, which is a security, and they run the whole gamut. And you know what? Our people walk up in there fighting it, talking about, I'm not no tenant, I'm not no tenant. They know you're not a tenant. What are you doing here? Unless you're going to pull that case out and put it up in federal court. They say, wait a minute here. They're trying to, this is a notice of removal. They're trying to come up here, prove that I'm a tenant. And you're going to have to break the law all the way down. So eventually, if this mortgage did make me a tenant and me even purchase purchasing this land with the dwelling on top still made me a tenant. You need to disclose that because nowhere in there says tenant. Now, if I go to Black's Law Dictionary, which I shouldn't have to do, then we can find certain things that say tenancy. No, nothing in these documents say I'm a tenant that I can see. It doesn't pop out and say disclosure. Signing these documents, endorsing these instruments, you are now creating a security, and you are now transferring all rights and title that you just received from the previous owner on a colorable title to this servicer company, i.e. bank, or better known as bank, ABC Bank. Now, if everybody was told that, they'd be like, man, I'm not signing that. Is you crazy? And also, you're going to waive your right to a jury trial. You know what you just did? You just waived your right to any constitutional protections. If anybody knew that, I really don't think anybody would sign anything of that nature. Or they'll say, hey, make sure if I do sign this, then I got all rights and interests in this too. Where's my interest at? Shit, I'll play this game with you. I play this game. I want to make sure all my things is protected. I need to know X, Y, Z. Break it all the way down. Let's go. If this is what you saying the system is, so I need to be indemnified too. I'm not just going to indemnify you. I need to be indemnified as well from any legal proceedings or unlawful things that might happen. Does it sound like I might be participating in fraud? Is that true? Well, okay, well, I'm not signing nothing. All right, how about we work this out? Here's my counter offer. My counter offer is you spell all this out. Let's play. Game on. Let's do it. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I already know what time it is. So let's get it. What's your percentage? What's your fees? Break it all down. Make sure we do all that. Bam. When I get up from this table, I want free and clear. You're going to cut me a check. Cut me a check. Property. No. Land. Yes. Do your research a little bit more, sister. Look up the word chancery. All right, let's go to the next one.
This is significant. When the Rothschilds took over, the first thing they changed was the introduction of interest-bearing debt, the foundation of modern banking, the mechanism that has transferred wealth from populations to banking families for 3 centuries. The takeover began in the 1760s. Maya Angelou. This is significant.
That's it. Oh. Thought that would be a little bit better.
Hey, get in here. So they got rid of my page, right? So now let's tell some more secrets. Since you got rid of my page, because I told a big secret, but let's tell a new secret so all these people can understand.
Appreciate everybody being here. I can't see the chat. I do have my phone working, so I'm looking. If you got anything you want to say, just put it in the thing and boom. I'm looking.
What's actually really going on?
Yeah, make sure while I'm doing this, you know what I'm saying? Repost it, just post it on your channel. Say tap in and say, hey, this guy's full of shit. You don't know what the hell he's talking about. Come listen to this dumb MFer. Do something. Hit the thumbs up. Thumbs down. Don't matter. Do something.
And what secret I'm about to tell you. But go ahead and take a screenshot. And this picture about to explain a lot that you don't even know what's actually really going on. Now, this is the 1 Million Man March. You see all these people? But let me show you what your leaders and the government do not want to tell you. Have you ever heard of the treaty with the Seminoles? Oh, you ain't never heard of that? Where the Seminoles, they self-seceded 2.1 million acres of their territory to the United States, right? This land was especially taken so the U.S. government could relocate free slaves and other tribes. Now listen to this very closely. Let's do some math. If the 5 civilized tribes gave us some of their land, and the so-called Black Seminoles gave us some of their land, then who do they give the damn tribes the land to? Bing! The 5 civilized tribes didn't give it to each other, did they? Because it's our land, ain't it? The Seminoles gave us some of their land, which a spinoff of the United States Army. Because remember, the Seminoles had to come fight for us. Remember that? So what other tribes and so-called free slaves they get a land to? It's only one group of peoples. It's only one group of, let that sink in, please. But this is part 1, part 2 coming. But if you'd like to donate $1, greatly appreciate it. All
right, so look. Now, from my research, the Seminoles been here way before Civil War and all this other stuff, 1800s. They've been here. They have treaties with their names on them in the 1700s. They've been here. That's what I'm saying. You got the Miccosukee, you got the Muskogee, whatever you want it, Muskogee, how they do it, the Wetumpka. You got that whole area, what they consider to be Florida all the way up. Been here. What they look like? Well, contrary to popular belief, so-called Black people outnumber everybody. The United States is a nation of immigrants of all different shapes, sizes, and all over. Okay? So what they say, all over the world. With all that class of people that they want to consider themselves white persons, we outnumber them. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, this 2.1, the treaty, the Seminole Treaty, 1866, Seminoles nation ceded over 2.1 million acres of their territory to the United States. Ceded. Bookmark that. We're going to talk about that. I want to stay within the streams. I don't want to go too far off, but I mentioned it plenty of times. Ceded means granted. Not ass whoopings and we give up and we walking barefoot over to Oklahoma. No. I got people in that so-called story, and they damn sure wasn't walking barefoot. They had cars, transportation, and money. See what I'm saying? So they were called the Seminole, and these people been here, and that's why you have the Seminole Creek Treaty, the Seminole Creek Treaty. You got Seminole Treaty, Creek Treaty, then you got a Seminole Creek Treaty together. So 2.1 million acres? Really? No. If you got a treaty, you got a treaty. Peace and friendship treaty. Don't forget that. That seated thing people get into. Oh, yeah, they came over and they took it. No, they did not. No, they did not. Now, they might have reneged, but they reneged based on them allowing, like I said, 1871. I showed the video, 1871 is when the United States Corporation came in. 30 years, 40 years later, the central bank comes in. All these other, the Great Depression comes in, the bankruptcy comes in, and all the gold is hoarded. I just showed yesterday about these bank barons, these people that was making these runs on banks, and all these so-called bank robbers who in the movies didn't have teeth, just drove in their car stealing, and then went out into the open areas and just got out of their car and slept on the ground. You just stole millions of dollars gold of worth, you would say. Gold, bonds, all kind of things you took. The gold back paper, all that. And you sleeping on the ground? Really? Okay. Right. You want me to believe that? Don't think so. Next one.
Get in here, boy. We doing bangers. You got rid of my page? This is my new page. We doing.
Yeah. I figured they'd shut his page down pretty soon. Yeah, this is his new one. Yeah, they knocked him down. And I know why they did it too. That last one he did. Yeah, they knocked that down.
Books and bangers now. This book is literally 300 years old. Literally, right? We're doing Discover Origins of the Name America.
He be too damn excited. He can't even get the words out. Like, calm down, man. It's like this dude gonna get faded and say, I'm going live on TikTok and I'm gonna talk some shit about some great information. And yeah, I'm gonna butcher every single last word. Read it for your damn self. Take a snapshot of it. That's what he should say. Yeah, I'm faded. Now I'm about to just read this how I read it and F the world, you know. But he be having some bangers, though. I tell you, it should be good. Just take your time, bro. It's all right. I remember when I first got into this information a long time ago. The initial thing, I think everybody like that, like Big Dog Philly, Chief I Am. You listen to Derek, you listen to a lot of brothers and sisters and stuff like that, how we build. Get fired up. I mean, it makes you angry that you've been going through this whole life, through your whole life, saw your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfathers, and all that stuff, aunties, uncles, stuff like that. You know, if you got people, older brothers or whatever, sisters, just go through life working, you know, stressing and just living the life and thinking that it's the great life or whatever, you know, married, all that stuff, you know, everything, walk down the aisle, all this stuff. And you find out that all of this is a ploy to get money from you, to lean on you, to fractionalize and hypothecate on you. Yeah, that'll kind of piss you off, especially if you think you're smart. You know some shit. You probably got a 4.0, probably got MAs and PhDs and BAs and NAs and whatever. But when you get to this information and you even get to just, you know, you get out of the realm of Christianity as you see it fit, because everybody had that white Jesus on that wall. Mama had that. Grandmama had that on that wall. Better know it. And you gonna look at it as soon as you walk in that door. If it ain't right in front of you, you're gonna look right. Once you get to the living room or the place where the family Bible is, where all the pictures and everything. Jesus Christ is gonna be sitting there. That white man is gonna be, that pale skinned guy with stringy hair is gonna be sitting right around that thing somewhere. When I got that information, even the information about that, and then I was furious. But you know why I was furious? So I thought I knew what I knew. This like, when I got into the Hebrew Israelite and got into the faith and all that stuff, and that sparked fire, anger. Wait a minute, all these people is black. Oh my God. Wait a minute. Anger, fury, fire. And then you get through all your life and you still assuming that position and getting sweated, but you live in the life of what will be the good faith of the world. But some reason, somebody on the other side is saying, I don't care what you say you are. I don't care how you dress. To me, you are that. And I'm coming to trespass upon you at any point in time that I feel like. And then you get into the law and the system and how it works, and you like, oh my goodness. Then at that point in time, I just started laughing. I couldn't even get mad. I had to put my hustle brain on. I said, all this time I've been hustling. What don't kill you make you stronger, right? So, hey, I was like, man, what? Oh, I got to get in. This is what I'm saying. Control the narrative from your perspective. That's how you control the contract. Let's go.
What we doing? We're doing bangers. You get rid of my page? And this the introductory. You see it, right? You see it, right? Introductory, right?
Introduction, not introductory. Come on, man.
And I'll mark some stuff down for you so you can see it. But you always got to keep the water. Keep the water when you drinking. When you drinking, we doing bangers now. I'm updating my content.
Oh, yeah. Well, there it is. He just said it. When you're drinking, have some water. Good word.
You can see it for yourself, right? You can see it for yourself, bro. We're doing bangers. And in this page, we're bringing out books. Books that clarify America as Egypt. Now, if you go ahead and look at what I marked right here, 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 you see it, and this is the book right here. And just to make sure you can see who did it, this book is wild. It's wild. You didn't even see this. But your boy, All Secrets Revealed, got it. Go look at this book. Get your popcorn ready. You're going to see what's been going on and how these evil peoples from the depth of hell and where they come from and where the America original name comes from. Oh, Secrets Revealed. But
this dude's a fool. Oh, man, you got to love our people. Got to love us. Got to.
Let's show what it is. It is what it is. We're not going to stop.
It's like, a cat is faded when he only can keep one eye open. That one eye be like blinking on the side. Look, this is supposed to be something about some history, origin of the name America. Snapshot that. We're gonna find it. We're gonna dive into that. Look it out, Getty.
Choo choo! We going full steam ahead. Choo choo! We going. What did the married name really come from? Huh? Oh, you ain't want this revealed? Why we gonna do it? Now you lucky I didn't bring out the red cup. You lucky I didn't bring out the red cup. But we doing books right now. That's hidden in the Library of Congress in Egypt, Rome, Britain. That's what we doing. Who you think you all secret? Come on, let's get it. Let's get it. We're gonna do something different. We're gonna switch it up. We're gonna show you the book and we're gonna show you the pages in the book. How about that? Since you got rid of my page, we gonna get to it. We gonna get to it. All secrets revealed. You think you messing with me? No, you're not. You know, you should have left me alone. You should have left me alone. I'm about to reveal all the secrets and the sources. All secrets revealed.
Oh, man. Hold on. Do I want to do this? Let's do this one. Always love to see this. It's going to be real quick. I love.
What's happening? Are they?
Yes, sir. I love looking at things like this. It's not enough. Hashtag Rico. And we talking about Rico Suave.
Judge, step down, please.
This is wild. They're really
Watch your step. Doors open. We have you.
Oh my God. What's happening?
This is wild. Bye. See it. Look, and you look at his face. He knows what he's doing. That's why he ain't resisted. He ain't did nothing. They know that eventually they're going to get caught. They know eventually that this is a possibility. It's an inevitable possibility that this is going to happen because they know what they're doing every day. And just think how many people come in front of him every day, and he got some age on him. Would it be safe to say 1 million? It'd be safe to say 1 million that came in front of him. So, good. Riddance. Don't drop the soap, my nigga.
Are they?
Yes, sir. Hands behind your back. Judge, step down, please.
This is wild. They're really.
Watch your step. Doors open. We have you.
Oh my God. What's happening? Are they?
See what I'm saying? Yeah. How about those apples? Let's see. Do I want to do that? Boop, 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 boop. Yep. Let's do this one. I don't know if you guys know who Ross Perot is. This might be one of the most prophetic things that I ever heard now that I heard back in 92. Heard this back in 92. So you remember in 92, yeah, Clinton was the president. This is Ross Perot. He was running, and he was kind of like, he was kind of like the predecessor to what Trump is attempting to do. But the only thing is Ross Perot didn't ask for no money. He did his own campaign. He did everything with his own money. Check this out.
21st century. Step one, we've got to slash the White House cabinet and congressional staffs. Staffs don't get much done. All the action is in the field. But for example, in 1960, Congress had 6,700 staff members. Today they have 30,000. The White House had 375 in 1960, and today has 1,850. All they do is clutter up communications between the people and the leaders. We've got to change the whole organization in Washington so that people come to Washington to serve us and not to cash in. We absolutely.
There we go. There it is. People say, well, that's not realistic. It is realistic. They come to serve us in D.C. D.C. is a plantation for them to work as employees, servants to the people. More importantly, they're trustees under the treaties here in America. And they are to make sure that they manage and make sure they supervise their own United States citizens so they do not trespass on Indian territory and the people. You understand that? Fort Knox, the Treasury, is Indian money. It's Indian commodity, Indian land, product, whatever you want to say, minerals, all those things that you get up under the ground that grow up from under the ground on top of the ground belongs to the American Indian, period. The United States citizens are enumerated to work on these plantations and in these areas for the benefit of the beneficiaries, the heirs to this land. Not to mommy and daddy, to this land, because mommy and daddy had a mommy and daddy. They had a mommy and daddy, they had a mommy and daddy.
Must stop deficit spending. We've got to replace Graham-Rudman with a bill that will really eliminate the tricks, the loopholes, and the improper accounting procedures. We've got to give the president a line item veto to eliminate pork barrel and waste. We must eliminate PACs, political action committees. We've got to make our elected officials responsive to the people and not to the special interests. That's job one. We've got to eliminate all possibilities of special interests giving large sums of money to candidates, and we must leave no loopholes.
Now, this is 1992. At this time, Ross Perot was probably in his 60s. Probably in his 60s. Now, if he's talking about that in 1992, do the math. It is 2026. That's 34 years later. Carry the one. Yeah. 34 years later. And he's talking about going into the 21st century. Into the 21st century. That's how he started off. Fix everything in the 21st century. He was already talking about it. And this is what they led up to get accomplished. If Ross Perot would have been the president at that time, we wouldn't have these problems. Even though it's a pale skin. But like I said, I ain't worried about that because he knows he's a trustee. He knows what his job is. He knows that he's occupying territory and land that does not belong to him. But he's utilizing it in the way it's supposed to be done. Manufacture, make money, pay your taxes, do all the things that is necessary that you are to do as a United States citizen. So this is where you get the Nassar Jassar jump off going on, right? That's the National Economic Reformation, Economic Reformation, something. And the G is for global economic whatever it is. Where everything that's supposed to be turning over what it is today, that was supposed to have been done in 2000. Because Bill Clinton signed it in. So, not to get on a soapbox and a whole digression, if he would have been president, there wouldn't be no Donald Trump. It had already been done.
We must limit political contributions to $1,000 and no other way. Today we hold elections on Tuesday. It's hard for working people to vote. They have to go early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Let's change it and hold elections on both Saturday and Sunday. Make it easier for working people to vote. We've got to require all members of Congress and the president to turn in excess political funds from prior campaigns to the U.S. Treasury immediately after a campaign. No grandfather exemptions, no exceptions. We must make adequate television time available in equal amounts to competing candidates. We must eliminate the need to raise millions for campaigns. This corrupts our process. As a matter of principle, we must get rid of all the freebies in Congress and the White House, such as free haircuts, free gymnasiums, free prescription drugs, free ambulance service, and the list goes on forever. These people.
Now, I just saw what you put in there, Know Your Business. You said no white person can, no pale person can lead our land. They're not leading our land. They're leading the United States of America and their citizens. Got it? The United States is in Washington, D.C. That's it. 10 square mile radius. And the 13 United States has a treaty, multiple treaties with indigenous nations. They do. So keep Ross Perot and everybody else that has been a president in Washington, D.C. See, people allow them to go outside that jurisdiction based on acquiescence and not fully knowing how the system works, what the agreements are. See, all we think about is the Constitution, Bill of Rights, all that stuff. Okay, cool. That is for them to follow, to make sure that the people are protected and no trespass is being done in violation of the treaties. Because if you don't, you change that T to an S and a Y to an O-N. That's what it is. But what he is saying is basically what is supposed to be done. So that way there is no trespass, that everything is supposed to float across the board. This is why Trump is doing what he's doing, and he's being successful, because he knows it's a business. He is telling you that it's a company. He is showing what this is all about. It's not about all this stuff that these niggas be doing. And based on what he's saying, this is how you should confirm. Don't worry about the pale skin, just worry about your own people. This is why they should be all removed, every last one of them. Because number one, they probably tethers. Number two, they're in these secret societies. And they know that this has been going on, what Ross Perot is saying. They have taken deals. They have taken money. They have taken all these things and sworn oaths to make sure that you never wake up and never know what's yours. Because they're still putting in acts, policies, legislation, coming up on TV, screaming and hollering about something that actually put us in this trick bag. You see what I'm saying? No, so yeah, I know what you're saying. Oh yeah, but they don't run nothing but a business called the United States of America. All right, good talk.
For our servants, we don't have those things. Why should they? We've got to give the voters the exclusive right to grant Congress, federal employees, and the president a pay raise. That'll keep their heads clear on who they work for. Congress has given itself a retirement plan that's worth 2 to 3 times what you and I get. We need to bring it back in line with ours. Makes no sense for the people who work for you to have a better retirement plan than you have. You wouldn't let that happen in your business. 93 members of Congress under the existing pension plan have retirements greater than $2 million.
Now, do the math. This is 1992. So what do you think it is now in 2026 based on the inflation? See what I'm saying? They getting money. They getting money to do nothing. Remember what Martin Luther King said? Even though he led us into a burning house, well, the Civil Rights Act, he did say that they were getting paid enormous amounts of subsidies and funds and monies and grants and all that stuff not to work. Now, he said not to farm, because that's what the main thing is. This is what America's about. Not farming, manufacturing things. That's what we all about. That's why we lead the list of creators and innovators by patent, invention, see what I'm saying? Ingenuity, engineering, building, construction, in every aspect of the word. He is continuously saying that these people in Washington, D.C. are servants to the people. And he's including himself in that language. He said they're making more than me. He's a pretty good businessman. But just take 1992, he's saying this here, and then they already getting the millions. And then in 2026, what's going on? So all you people that love your black caucus and love your Negroes and all this stuff that be hollering and spitting all this stuff on the thing is getting this same money. You dig? They not living like you and me, where we got to get it how we get it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. They have all the games that they playing. They work in the system. They know how to work the system. It's about time we got to start calling them on it. Not just you, me too. They got to get called on it. Don't worry about these pale skins. These pale skins, the only one that know the system. It's dinner table talk with these people. They not worried about the guy that got shot, the last hip hop artist that got shot, the last 30. The LeBron James and how many points he just scored, what team he's on. They don't care nothing about that at all. They worried about generational wealth, private banking. You know what I'm saying? They want to see where every dime goes that they put out into the system, because they know that they are investors in the system. They're shareholders in the system. They utilize that to their advantage. That's why they like debt, because they can handle it.
Let's just make it competitive with our pension plans. Congress absolutely must stop exempting itself from laws it imposes on us, such as the Disability Act, the Equal Opportunity Act, the Occupational Safety Act, Fair Labor Standards Act, and believe it or not,
that's right there. That's that judge that just got arrested. Yeah. Yeah, they consider themselves to be exempt. They're under the Biden statement. We the people are the government. I mean, we the people are the government. We are the people. This is how it was set up. No longer there's any people outside of the government. These are none but peons we're dealing with. And we're exempt from any type of levy of any sort, any encumbrances. We are exempt while we in here. Why you think people have been in Congress and in these positions for 40, 30, 50 years? See what I'm saying? So the rules for thee and not for me just doesn't pertain to a pale skin like him. It pertains to everybody. Maxine Waters. Just thinking about California. You know what I'm saying?
not sexual harassment. Only in America would they pass laws impacting us and exclude themselves. It's hard to believe that we've got 1,200 federal airplanes worth $2 billion that are used to fly our servants around like royalty. Get rid of them. Let them get on a commercial airline. Have the same experience.
Hell yeah, be amongst the people. Did y'all know that? They spent all this money for private planes for these people to ride on when they supposed to be riding coach with us. You know what I'm saying? They be riding with us, but they get private stuff. I mean, they get everything. I mean, look, he just breaking it all the way down.
Experience we have. They work for us. We must restructure our system so that the citizens who come to Washington to serve us cannot cash in as foreign lobbyists. They must stop cashing in on public service. Former federal officials, elected, appointed, or career civil service, should never be able to serve for lobbyists for domestic interests for 5 years after they leave office. Never should they be allowed to lobby for foreign countries, companies, or individuals. We should impose criminal penalties for violators. We must pass a law stating that former presidents, vice presidents, cabinet officers, CIA directors, the Federal Reserve chairman, Senate majority leaders, and speakers of the House can never lobby for foreign countries, domestic interests, accept gratuities or fees of any kind, or cash in on their service. Our current...
Now, the important thing of what he's saying is this is what is giving them to violate every single treaty, agreement, contract that they had, that they are supposed to continue to carry out from the inception of these agreements. House Joint Resolution doesn't get in unless Congress signs off on it. House Joint Resolutions go through Congress. The acts go through Congress. It can't happen unless Congress makes it happen. They have the power of the purse. They distribute the money. They don't spend it. But they're distributing money to their interests for what? Kickbacks. All this stuff is in the codes. How are they able to exemplify themselves? Not exemplified, my bad. How are they able to exempt themselves? But as you're looking in these videos that I've shown, that thing's changing. A lot of them cats is getting clinked up and getting put on blast. But there's only so much Trump and his cabinet can do. They can't do everything. This is gonna have to be done in ways, and this is what the thing about these pale skin people is that they check their representatives. They're knocking on doors. They're making sure they do their job, so on and so forth. If they don't, they'll say, we get you up out of here. We get you up out of there quickly, however it needs to be done. So, at some point in time, you're going to have to stop complaining. Not you, but I'm just saying, in general, whoever going to be listening to this now or later, you're going to have to hold these people accountable. Regardless if you like it or not, we are in the system. You got a birth certificate, you got a social security number, you got a form of ID, driver's license, you have some type of contract or some credit card, mortgage, car loan. You are in the system. You have your instruments in the system because you registered with them. So they have your information. So technically you are a United States citizen. Sorry. I'm not sorry. It's what it is. Got to know how to get control of it. That's all.
Tax system is like an old inner tube that is covered with patches. We must replace it with a new, fair, simple tax system. Above all, the new system must be fair. It must also raise the necessary revenues. It should be paperless for most Americans. You can't put another patch on the old system and make it work. First, remember Cicero's words. The budget should be balanced. The treasury should be refilled. Public debt should be reduced. The arrogance of public officials should be controlled. That was true 2,000 years ago, history did repeat itself.
2,000 years ago. So that's what? That would be 26 AD. Well, no, 1992. So that's 2,000 years ago. So that's basically 8 BC. That's 8 BC. Now, let me put a spin on what he just said at the end. That's 2,000 years ago. And he said what he said then in 8 BC. That means the system has already been functioning for 2,000 years. As he just read, at least 8 BC. This is where you got to get the power at. Find the power in everything somebody says. Don't find the part where it subjects you to the power. Get the power in it and harness it. Get control. 2,000 years ago, BC 8 or BCE, before Christian era. So we know that America has been around for a while. You know what I'm saying? Drunk ass Getty, tried to get it out, but he showed about America. Just read from a book that was supposed to be 300 years old. So that means he's doing his research. I don't give a damn what he do in his private life, but he making it public. But hey, that's on him. You can tell he give two shits and giggles about it. But under the circumstances, he just showed that the system has been in place for a long time, and this system is working. And you know that the United States adopted all of the things that be going on in America from the indigenous nations, because that was the agreement the indigenous nations had. You will adopt what we do so that we working in uniform. That's why you call it Uniform Commercial Code. The United States Constitution is uniform. All the statutes and codes within the states in the United States is uniform. Maybe codified differently in sequence, but it's the same. Got it? America. America. Hold on, let me do this real quick. Reboot this.
Most people don't know. I think that now, let me explain something that.
Now, I played this yesterday, but yesterday was Monday, and I didn't do it no justice. But now we're lining this thing up. 1871. So we just heard Ross Perot, what he was saying in 1992. So this is what, 1871. This is 121 years later. I'm sorry. Right, yeah. 121 years. Yeah, that's 1992. So this is 121 years later, based on what he is saying. But here we go right here.
Most people don't know. I think this audience probably does, but there may be others who don't know. In 1871, the Congress, the 41st Congress, committed additional treason by creating a constitution called the Constitution of the United States, okay, in all cap letters. It was a corporate constitution that created corporate governments across this country. Every government in this country now, lock, stock, and barrel, many police departments, fire departments, school departments, doesn't matter what it is. They are corporations. And those who are elected to office take an oath to this corporate 1871 Constitution and not the original 1787 Constitution. So they're traitors, and they have been traitors for a long time, taking an oath and upholding a foreign constitution that serves other agenda and not the people of the United States, and certainly not our Constitution and constitutional republic. Now, if you don't know this, you really should know it. Look up the Constitution, the unconstitutional Constitution of 1871. This is why our country, and it's not the only reason, but this is a primary reason why our country is in the trouble it's in. Now, let me explain something that most people don't know.
All right. So the one thing I would say if I was talking to him, I would say the United States has always been a corporate structure. They have a charter, right? These charters already came in. If you have a charter, you're a business. It's always been a form of a business or corporation. But I agree with him on the fact that it now serves foreign interests. This is the key thing about the 14th Amendment, Section 2. 14th Amendment, Section 2 mirrors Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. That's how you know that there is another constitution being brought in. You have an amendment. If you already have your amendments already in place, right? You have your Bill of Rights. You got your 10 amendments in. Why do you need more amendments? For what reason? It's already been set in place. Even if you're going to be adding other companies to it, this is why I say companies or colonies, right? Because remember, these were colonies. Colonies, companies, corporations can be considered synonymous because they're there for one thing: trade, business, right? So if you bring other ones in, and you already had a corporation, so just want to say that. I played this one yesterday too, but I wanted to play it again because yesterday it wasn't done no justice. What happened? Let's reboot it. Oh, that's why. There we go.
Almost everything that's happening in the economy. But what exactly is that role? I'd like to reflect on that. Banks are being thought of as intermediaries, but this is not really what's happening. Banks,
What are they then?
they're creators of the money supply.
So you're firmly of the view that banks create money out of thin air?
Yes, well, I produced the first empirical studies to prove that in the 5,000-year history of banking. Banks are thought of as deposit-taking institutions that lend money. The legal reality is banks don't take deposits and banks don't lend money. So what is a deposit? A deposit is not actually a deposit. It's not a bailment. It's not held in custody. At law, the word deposit is meaningless. The law courts and various judgments have made it very clear if you give your money to a bank, even though it's called a deposit, this money is simply a loan to the bank.
That's true. Yeah.
So there is no such thing as a deposit.
So you think it's
loans to the bank.
Okay, so step by step on that one. So you just heard it, right? So he's saying that deposits are loans to the bank, and this guy right here in the picture right now agreed. He concurs that deposits are loans to the bank, and they're really not what you would consider to be a deposit or what we think a deposit is today.
So banks borrow from the public. Okay, so that much we've established. What about lending? Surely they're lending money. No, they don't. Banks don't lend money. Banks, again, at law, it's very clear, they're in the business of purchasing securities. That's it. So you say, okay, don't, confuse me with all that legalese. I want a loan.
Okay, so purchasing securities. All right, number 2. Here we go. Well, we're on 3 now. That's number 3. Deposits aren't really deposits. Number 2, those deposits, what you consider deposits, are loans. Number 3, banks don't lend money. 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 Okay, we've been lending to banks this whole time. That's what it said.
I want a loan.
Yep.
Fine. Here's the loan contract. Here's the offer letter, and you sign. At law, it's very clear. You have issued a security.
Number 4, you have issued a security. What would that security be? What did he say? Who knows?
Namely, a promissory note, and the bank is going to purchase that.
Okay. A promissory note. And the bank purchases it.
That's what's happening.
Put it in layman's terms. What does that mean?
It means that what the bank is doing is very different from what it presents to the public that it's doing. How does this fit together? So you say, fine, the bank.
All right. This is what you have, what I mean by full disclosure. Misrepresentation of material facts. Let him say this again.
In layman's,
that's what's happening.
Put it in layman's terms. What does that?
See, the interesting, funny thing is he said, put it in layman's terms, and I understood everything he just said. To me, that's simple enough for me.
It means that what the bank is doing is very different from what it presents to the public.
So when you go into the bank and you say, yeah, I just saw a house I want to buy. I want to come in here and, I don't have $300,000 in cash in my account to spend. They say, well, okay. We provide that product for you. Mortgage loans, we provide that. That's what he's talking about. They do something very different from what they're presenting to the public. But they're presenting to the public as if they have money on reserve to loan. That's their money to loan to you. So that way you can go buy that land with the dwelling on top and all the fixtures that go along with it for $300,000. And this is also for your own personal and family use, not for gain. This is what they're presenting. But what he's saying is that's absolutely to the contrary of what actually is really going on.
That it's doing. How does this fit together? So you say, fine, the bank purchases my promissory note, but how do I get my money? I want, it's a loan. I want
200 grand. Right?
I don't care about the details. I want the money. The bank will say, well, you'll find it in your account with us. That would be technically correct. If they say, we'll transfer it to your account, that's wrong because no money is transferred at all.
It's already in
from
the bank.
Anywhere inside the bank or outside the bank. Why? Because what we call a deposit is simply the bank's record of its debt to the public. Now, it also owes you money, and its record of the money it owes you is what you think you're getting as money. And that's all it is.
Look at this guy's face. All right, we're going to stop right there. It's enough of that. Now, this makes a little more people a little bit uncomfortable. Now, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this guy. This guy is, he used to do this show, Ripley's Believe It or Not. And he has some information.
To cash a check, pay a bill, make a deposit for going to a bank. To cash a check, pay a bill, make a deposit, or simply to visit your money. George Washington is an old friend, a familiar face on the $1 bill. Thomas Jefferson, he's on the $2 bill. These other gentlemen are fairly well known. Honest Abe, Abraham Lincoln, is on the $5 bill. Alexander Hamilton is on the 10. Andrew Jackson is on the 20. And the stern face of Ulysses S. Grant graces the $50 bill. But now, the faces become a little less familiar. Let's see how many you know. The $100 bill, the gentleman who is famous for flying a kite. Benjamin Franklin. The $500 bill, a president assassinated in 1901. William McKinley. $1,000, 22nd and 24th President of the United States. Grover Cleveland. The really big money, however, is over here. The man on the $5,000 bill is a gentleman we would all like to get to know a little better. James Madison. This gentleman is Salmon P. Chase. He was a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and before that, Secretary of the Treasury. His face is on the $10,000 bill. But that's not the highest prize portrait in this gallery. This one is worth 10 times more, $100,000. The man whose face is on this bill was once a school teacher and a president, Woodrow Wilson. And then there is the gentleman who lurks behind this mysterious veil. His figure adorns a $3 bill. It was issued back when banks were permitted to print their own currency, before the National Bank Act of 1863 gave the government a monopoly on printing money. This bill was issued in 1852 by the Central Bank of Troy, New York, and features a bearded gentleman in a sleigh pulled by 8 tiny reindeer. Santa Claus.
Hey, you guys knew about those denominations? Where the denominations at? Things can't be circulated. So exactly why do they need it? Why you need a briefcase then? There's a $100,000 bill. There's a $10,000 bill, $5,000 bill. I mean, what happened to them? Who knows? All right. So we got that segment of it. I'm going to talk about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right here to the chat, see what's happening. Hey, Chief Ayeb, I know. And they cannot. Absolutely. Yeah. So this is what I want to do real quick. I want to talk about suspect classification. Suspect classification. We're going to go here. Then we're going to go here. The other thing I'm going to bring in is sovereign, citizen, movement. For all you people that like to call it sovereign citizen stuff. All right. We're going to bring this up. This is going to be a quick Wikipedia on it. We don't need to go too far on it. Then we're going to bring up the Sovereign Citizen Act. Dang, what is that? Shoot. No. Look, they didn't created a whole plates and all this type of stuff. Boy, they didn't. That means you on that radar. Okay, so I think this is it right here. Okay, so let's start right here. So people get a full understanding on this thing. As I got it blown up right here, you see sovereign citizens. Now, when you look at the whole dynamic, right? When you look at, I'm gonna turn my camera on. When you look at the whole dynamic of this sovereign citizen thing, and you look at the whole of the videos that I've been playing about the United States, 1871 and all this, and fiat currency, what Ross Perot was saying. This newly implemented federal government, or the Fed, seems like they want to get rid of sovereign citizens. So let's read it. This says, this is May 3rd, 1940. This is authorizing the President of the United States of America to proclaim I am an American Citizenship Day for the recognition, observance, and commemoration of American citizenship. Whereas some 2 million young men and women in the United States each year reach the age of 21 years, and whereas it is desirable that the sovereign citizens of our nation be prepared for the responsibilities and impressed with the significance of their status in our self-governing republic. Therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled at the third Sunday in May each year be and hereby is set aside as Citizenship Day, and that the President of the United States is hereby authorized and requested to issue annually a proclamation setting aside that day as a public occasion for the recognition of all who, by coming of age or naturalization, having attained the status of citizenship, and the day shall be designated as I Am an American Day. So, any questions? See, when people just randomly just spew out stuff they don't understand, you know, it's like they intentionally don't care that they sound like a buffoon, an idiot, a clown. Even if you put it in front of their face, they'll still say, so what? Now, when we talk about the age of majority, even in this whole process, see, this is why they got the sovereign citizen movement thing and all that, because people talk about the age of majority, redemption, everything on that. See, this is why I say when they talk, pale skins, they talk at the dinner table about that. Like they'll cut the TV off. They talk at dinner about everything. Then they have their time. They sit and, I mean, this is what they say. This stuff that they know when they reach that age, that's the age of majority. And they must now, you know, produce. But then take over what, you know, like some people say, your minor account. Because if they know for a fact that the United States creates securities, bonds, certificates of title, everything that is ran within the process of the United States. And I actually showed you in the encyclopedia on the contributions of American Indians to the world, or the American Indian contributions to the world, that they had a tax system too as well. Women's rights and all the other stuff that they were doing. But people still got the feathers, the thin hair, and the teepees, and the powwow, and the woo in their head. The walk in the barren straits, following animals. Not the massive structures, pyramids, Capitol buildings, waterways, roads, technology. They don't think about it from that perspective because they think that is something that came from Africa or Europe, somewhere else that was brought over here. And then some so-called black man or black woman by happenstance tripped over into innovating and creating something that changed the world with a patent, might I say. But then couldn't read, write, none of that. Right. Okay. See, but people got all that in their head. So this is hard for people to fathom because a lot of us want to focus on the race aspect of it. You don't have to, but it'll be best if you get that out your head. It's gonna fog everything. See, common sense goes out the window when you're talking race from the aspect of white supremacy, right? So, all right, so here you go here. This is Citizenship Day, American Citizenship Day, by naturalization or coming of age. All right, Naturalization Act, remember that? All right. Now, nope, don't want that yet. Nope, don't want that yet. All right, so here's the sovereign citizen movement. Sovereign citizen movement. Years. We're over here. 1971 to present. Country. Over 20 countries. Not just the United States. 20 countries. Let me put my glasses on. Yeah. It says 20 countries. This is America now. 20 of them. Okay. 20 of them. That's better. So it says over 20 countries, including United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, Austria, Germany, Italy, Russia, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Czech Republic, Lithuania, Norway, Singapore. Major figures: William Potter Gale, Posse Comitatus, Gordon Call, Terry Nichols, Montana Freeman, Edward and Elaine Brown, David Wynn Miller, Jerry Fogel, Cliven Bundy, Ammon Bundy, Bruce Doucette, Romano Didulo, Darrell Brooks. Influences: tax protesters, pseudo-law, anti-statism, anti-Semitism, white supremacism, Christian identity, black nationalism, more science. This is 1971. 1971. So the sovereign citizen movement, sometimes abbreviated as SOV-CITS, I got an abbreviation for it, is a loose group of anti-government activists, conspiracy theorists, vexatious litigants, tax protesters, and financial scammers found mainly in English-speaking common law countries. Interesting. All right. Sovereign citizens have a pseudo-legal belief system based on misinterpretations of common law and claim not to be subject to any government statutes unless they consent to them. The movement appeared in the U.S. in the early 1970s and has since expanded to other countries. So it appeared in the U.S. Yeah. Sovereign citizen ideas have also been incorporated by other fringe movements in the United States and abroad, such as the Reichsbürger in Germany and Austria. The FBI has called sovereign citizens anti-government extremists who believe that even though they physically reside in this country, they are separate or sovereign from the United States. Remember what Ross Perot said, okay? 28 USC 3002. Read that, 1415. All right, so we got the FBI involved here. What else? We just seen that. That is what the sovereign citizen movement is. Most sovereign citizens are not violent, but methods the movement advocates the methods the movement advocates are illegal. Sovereign citizens notably adhere to the fraudulent schemes promoted by the redemption A4V movement. Many have been found guilty of offenses such as tax evasion, hostile possession, forgery, threatening public officials, bank fraud, and traffic violations. Two of the most important crackdowns by U.S. authorities on sovereign citizen organizations were the 1996 case, Terry Nichols, one of the perpetrators of the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, subscribed to sovereign citizen ideology. Okay, there we go. Now, under the circumstances here, these videos that I shows that there are a lot of people that are calling out what the United States has become based on what happened during the Civil War. The Reconstruction Act. The amendment or the changing of the Constitution. But you have this whole segment of what you call sovereign citizens, sovereign citizen movement, when sovereign citizen is supposed to mean one thing. But they turned this sovereign citizen, they had to know that this public law existed on American Citizen Day. And that these citizens, once they became to an age of majority, became sovereign citizens, as is stated in Congress. And this is in 1940. So what happened 31 years later? 1971. Remember, the guy had mentioned the other day that in 1970, right? Well, Scott Benson said when he was being interviewed by Jesse Waters that in 1970, they started going to fiat currency. Maybe that could have been it. Maybe it was a protest to the changing of way people can pay debts. Maybe so. But even you have here that the Moors and the Nubians and all that stuff fall under that category as well. But everything that they're saying, redemption movement, tax evasion, hostile possession, and all that stuff, where you had FBI agent and IRS agents come out and quit and be in this situation showing that, well, I was challenged to find a law that says that to paying taxes is mandatory. They couldn't find one. Hostile possession of what? Hostile possession of property, land. Okay, well, what has the United States have done? Occupy, occupation, adverse possession. That's in the law. Adverse possession. Okay. See, hostile possession, adverse possession. Adverse possession is in law. So, homesteading, squatters' rights, right? You got squatters' rights. You got affidavits of adverse possession that can go in as well. I'm missing something here. All this stuff that is considered to be within the Constitution, not necessarily within the Constitution, but within the rule of law, dealing with the United States, how they have done things for their own benefit in America on land that wasn't theirs. Now saying that you can't do it. If you do it, you're a sovereign citizen. You're a part of a sovereign citizen movement. Let's see what else. Forgery. Threatening public officials. Wait a minute. Didn't Ross Perot say that they were our servants? Isn't the First and Second Amendment dealing with, morally the Second Amendment, dealing with that it is the duty of a patriot or an American citizen, that if a public official, if the government now exceeds their power, then it is the duty of the people to overturn it and remove these people. This is where you get the word treason, dealing with foreign interests, right? Ross Perot said it. Trump has been saying it, that you got people here that operating on their own personal and financial interests without consideration to the people that they serve. Ross Perot did call them servants. Let's try another one. Bank fraud. Well, we just listened to a guy talking about what the banks are doing and what they're not doing. What they're presenting to the public is not actually what they're doing. So what would you call that? Fraud. And traffic violations. What is traffic violations? Well, let's see. Well, it sounds like the United States government is operating as a sovereign citizen. Because we, the people, are the government, right? You see how easy it is to just turn it on its face, like, wait a minute, isn't that everything y'all do? Isn't that everything that y'all do? Yeah, it is. It is. So, that just gives me the thought to bring up this quick video. Hold on a second. Let me go get this thing. Hold on a second. Let me go get this thing. I'll play a little bit of old dude music real quick. found it. I found it. All right, let's go.
"36 have been accused of spousal abuse."
Hold on.
36 have been accused of NBA or NFL. 36 have been accused of spousal abuse.
NFL.
7 have been arrested for fraud.
NBA.
19 have been accused of writing bad checks.
NBA.
117 have directly or indirectly been bankrupted at least 2 businesses.
NFL.
3 have done time for assault.
NBA.
71, I repeat, 71 cannot get a credit card due to their bad credit.
NFL.
14 have been arrested on drug-related charges. 8
NBA.
have been arrested for shoplifting.
NFL.
21 currently are defendants in lawsuits, and 84 have been arrested for drunk driving in the last year. How many of you think NBA? How many of you think NFL?
I don't know.
Well, the answer is neither. It's the 435 members of the United States Congress.
Woo!
NBA or
Got it. So, as we continue, as we look at these other things, let me go ahead and come out of here and share my whole entire screen. And yeah, I don't know. This stuff comes to my my streams, man. I'll be getting some great stuff. Let me do the whole screen here. Yeah, Enosh, that's a great one right there. All right, let's add it to the stage. Damn, people fell off. See, when I get to talk about this real stuff, people get to skedaddling. All right. Let me start here. Let me make sure this is right. You know, I want to pull them up. Okay, so not that one. I don't know why I brought up that set off and recoupment, but yeah, I want to get into that. All right, so this securitization part, right? It says illegal. Author, Michael Nwa Gugu. This is a guy, this is a Nigerian. Pretty sure he's not a Moor or with the KKK or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? He ain't with one of the Nation of Islam, because you had the Nation of Islam up there too. Black Power Nations or whatever they was calling them. Okay, so boom, here we go right here. These are exhibits that were used in a case to prove what these things are. Right? This is all dealing with a mortgage case. This is also an affidavit right here in this same case by one Walker F. Todd. Okay. Remember, he was talking about promissory notes, the guy who was talking about banking. Now, remember, in the sovereign citizen movement, they had a list of things that I want you to be reminded of regarding this sovereign citizen movement. It says right here, tax evasion, hostile possession, which is adverse possession, forgery, threatening public officials, bank fraud, and traffic violations. Let's go ahead and deal with the bank fraud for right now. All right. So this one deal with foreclosure case. It's an opinion here. Okay, from a judge. And here's also an opinion from Judge Thomas M. Rose. All right. And here goes where fraud begins. So, we're going to get past all the little intros. All right. Now, it says, who are the players? All you guys that have mortgages or had mortgages. Just hear me out for a second. Now, who are the players involved in the transaction from the perspective of the consumer purchasing a property and signing a mortgage note and deed or similar security instrument? At the closing, there is, of course, the seller, the real estate agents, title insurance company, property appraiser, who is supposed to properly determine the value of the property, and the most obvious one being who we believe to be the lender in the transaction. Okay, remember what the guy said when he was talking about what the banks are, what they are not, and what they're doing. So he says, we are led by all involved to believe that we are in fact borrowing money from the lender, which is then paid to the current owner of the property as compensation for them relinquishing any claim of ownership to the property and transferring that claim of ownership to us as the purchaser. It all seems so simple, right? Pretty much that's the run of the mill. That's how it looks. Everybody knows that to be true. Right? So it says, it all seems so simple and clear on its face, and then the transaction is completed. After the closing, everyone is all smiles, and you believe you have a new home and have to repay the lender over a period of years the money which you believe you have borrowed. All right? We're all on we clear, we're on the same page. Basic intro. There you go. Is there something we don't know? Everything appears to be relatively simple and straightforward, but is that really the case? Could it be that there are other players involved in this whole transaction that we know nothing about that have a very substantial financial interest in what has just occurred? Could it be that those players that we are totally aware of have somehow used us without our knowledge or consent to secure a spectacular financial gain for themselves with absolutely no investment or risk to themselves whatsoever? All right, so let's go down here. Let's go to the documents. The two most important and valuable documents that are signed at closing are the note and the deed in various forms. Now, keep in mind endorsement. I keep talking about endorsement, but keep in mind of endorsement. So that way, like when it's kind of spells it out a little bit, it's not really going to spell out a little bit. I'm just going to show the exhibits, but just keep endorsement in mind. Keep what the guide said in that video in mind, that you're selling something. You're selling securities to the bank, and the bank is buying them. You see, keep that in mind. So it says, when looking at the definition of a mortgage note, it is obvious that it is a security instrument. It is a promise to pay made by the maker of that note. When looking at a copy of a deed of trust, such as the attached Exhibit A, there it is. There it is. Make sure my screen is showing. Yep, it is. There is your deed of trust, Exhibit A. It says right here, security instrument. Okay, so there's your Exhibit A. When looking at the copy of a deed of trust, which is a template of a Tennessee deed of trust form that is directly from the FreddieMac.com website, it is very obvious that this document is also a security instrument. This is a template that is used for most government purchased loans. You will note that the word security instrument are mentioned no less than 90 times in that document. Is there any doubt it is a security? When at closing, the borrower is led to believe that the mortgage note that he signed is a document that binds him to make repayment of money that the lender is loaning him to purchase the property he is acquiring. Remember what this guy said in this video I just previously showed. Keep it in mind. Okay, is there disclosure to the borrower? As I mentioned before, disclosure to the effect that the lender is not really loaning any of their money to the borrower and therefore is taking no risk whatsoever in the transaction. Is it disclosed to the borrower that according to federal law, banks are not allowed to loan credit and are also not allowed to loan their own or their depositors money? Remember what the guy said. These deposits are not really deposits. They're loans to the bank. So when you're loaning something, you're selling something and somebody is buying. This is why banks, based on that, do not really have to report these deposits because they're by law, they're considered to be loans. So they actually can use it as a loss, as a debt to them. How about that? How about that? So under the circumstances, just keeping everything clear. See what I'm saying? Keeping everything clear. I'm just looking at the phone, checking the chat. Okay. Back up. A few numbers. People came back, which is cool. All right. If that is the case, then how could this transaction how could this transaction possibly take place? Where does the money come from? Is there really any money to be loaned? This is how you ask questions. If you see in this full paragraph, there's questions being asked. All right. So where does the money come from? Is there really any money to be loaned? The answer to this last question is a resounding no. Most people are not aware that there has been no lawful money since the bankruptcy of the United States in 1933. This is the HAR 192 we've been talking about. Now, we get past all this. See, this is where people say, oh, that's sovereign citizen talk. Let's get past all this. We don't need to read all that. We've heard that a million times. All right. When you sit down at the closing table to complete the transaction to purchase your home, aren't you tendering a note with your signature, which would be considered money? Most people will say no. But if we go through HJR 192, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 or Clause 2, and the executive order that Franklin Roosevelt did, that he actually the usage in the continental, in the continental United States, that gold is not to be hoarded, right? Can't hoard gold, and so on and so forth. We talked about that. Okay, so you don't have anything but has been in place, and see, this was the misunderstanding. Because like Scott Benson was saying, is that the fiat currency didn't really come into full play until 1971. Prior to that, in 1965, your quarters, that's what I'm saying. If you can find you some 1965 pre stuff, oh yeah, that's real. It's real copper, real silver, real gold. Okay. So it says a note is money in our monetary system today. That's under the Negotiable Instruments Act. You can deposit, or the Bill of Exchange Act, you can deposit the Federal Reserve note, a promise to pay. So right here, a Federal Reserve note and a promissory note, right, are considered to be synonymous. with a denomination of $10 at the bank, and they will credit your account in that same amount. Why is it that when you tender your note at the closing, that they don't tell you that your home is paid for right on the spot? The fact is that it is paid for on the spot. Your signature on a note makes that note money in the amount that is stated on the note. So if you're looking at that note and it says $300,000, that note is worth $300,000. And once you endorse that, like you endorse a check, that is payment. This is why I talked about endorsement. Don't look at it from how he's saying it. Look at it from how the Uniform Commercial Code looks at it. Look at the definition of endorsement. And this is how it applies, okay? Now, so was this disclosed to you at the closing in either verbal or written form? Could this be the place where the other players come into the transaction at or near the time of closing? What happens to the note promised to pay that you sign at the closing table? Do they put it in their vault for safekeeping as evidence of a debt that you owe them, as you are led to believe? Do they return that note to you if you pay off your mortgage in 5, 10, or 20 years or 30 years? Do they disclose to you that they do anything other than put it away for safekeeping once it is in their possession? That's a no, that's a no, that's a no, that's a no, that's a no. Full disclosure. They always talk about Truth in Lending Act, the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, and in regards to these consumer violations. But nobody asked these other questions in their request for validation of a debt or a loan or anything else. These questions don't get asked. Nobody utilizes the Uniform Commercial Code. Nobody utilizes the Internal Revenue Code, the tax law. Never do that. All they're talking about, do you have the note? Can you authenticate that? Do you have my original unaltered wet ink signature note? Can you prove that I owe you money? That's all they ask. They don't ask about this other stuff. Nobody asks about this. This is the question you need to be asking. Because now we're talking about, we're talking about 6 figures, 7 figures. See what I'm saying? Now, let's go over here to Exhibit A. I ain't going to keep reading. This is a deed of trust. This is what you will see in California. I see Tennessee does deeds of trust as well. Right? These are the key words that you're looking at. I know everybody's probably like, damn. Coach, really serious? This is, yeah, money. This is money. It's a security instrument. It's a note. If you've actually seen, property means the property that is described below under the heading transfer of rights in the property. What is the property? Security instrument. Remember, it's land. It's real estate. All right. Hold on. I'm at my door. Okay. All right. So think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Come on. Think about it. Be with me on this. Because this is going to help you. I'm telling you. Because there's no statute of limitation. All right. Now, this is an affidavit by this guy right here, Walker F. Todd. All right. This is his background. Okay. Here's his background. For 20 years, he worked as an attorney and legal officer for the legal departments of the Federal Reserve Banks of New York and Cleveland. It don't get no better than this. So he's an expert witness in monetary and banking instruments. Now, remember what this guy just said in this video, right? Keep it in mind of what this guy said. Keep in mind also what I showed you about the definitions of endorsements on the UCC, what I showed in Black's Law Dictionary, the other instruments that I shown, how they're actually utilizing these instruments, fractionalizing on them, right? This is an actual case. It's got a case number up here. Okay, this is not for play. This is serious. All right. Now, he says, among other things, I was assigned responsibility for questions involving both novel and routine notes, bonds, bankers accepting securities, and other financial instruments in connection with my work for the reserve banks, discount windows, and parts of the open market trading desk function in New York. So if anybody say that these things don't exist, they exist. Let's go down here. That's just his right there. Now, let's get this. Let's get this going. Right? So banks are required to adhere to take notes because you should apply this. You don't have to be somebody that do this 24/7 like me to do this. This is your account, your money, your signature, and what are they doing? And your private information, what are they doing with it? That's not going to hurt. But I guarantee you, you're going to definitely see a reaction once you get to asking these questions. Banks are required to adhere to generally accepted accounting principles, also known as GAAP. GAAP follows an accounting convention that lies at the heart of the double entry bookkeeping system called the matching principle. Okay? If you know I'm putting emphasis on something, it's important. This principle works as follows. When a bank accepts bullion, coin, currency, checks, drafts, promissory notes, or any other similar instruments from customers and deposits or the records or records the instruments as assets, it must record offsetting liabilities that match the assets that it accepted from customers. The liabilities represent the amounts that the bank owes the customers' funds accepted from customers. In a fractional reserve banking system like the United States banking system, most of the funds advanced to borrowers, and it has assets to the banks in parentheses, are created by the banks themselves and are not merely transferred from one set of depositors to another set of borrowers. Period. That's it. Now you add this with what the guy was saying, that these ain't even deposit, these are loans. These are a selling of securities. It's you know what I'm saying? It's a selling of securities. If you ever hear me, I'm going to read this little part right here. I'm just picking out stuff that I want to read. I don't want to read the whole thing. But if you ever hear me say money of exchange versus money of account, this is what I'm talking about. In classical economic theory, once economic exchange has moved beyond the barter stage, there are two types of money of exchange and money of account. For nearly 300 years in both Europe and the United States, confusion about the distinctiveness of these two concepts has led to persistent attempts to treat money of account as the equivalent of money of exchange. And this is what the United States has always been doing. It says 300 years. And this was when? No date on there. But that's 03. So this is probably 2003. Usually they put the year in the front. So that's if it's 03, it's usually 2003. Nope, this is 1999. Yep, this is somewhere around 1999. So if you say 03, yeah, it's got to be 03. Thing was dated in 1999. So we're talking 300 years. So 300 years from 2003 is what? That's 1703. There was no United States yet in 1703. You're talking for 300 years, right? You said 300 years. In both Europe and the United States. Okay. Let's go up a little bit more. Let's see what this is. Okay, so it says in reality, especially in a fractional reserve banking system, a comparatively small amount of money of exchange, gold, silver, So you got a small amount of money of exchange. For example, gold, silver, and official currency notes may support a vastly large quantity of business transactions denominated in money of account. The sum of these transactions is the sum of credit extensions in the economy. With the exception of customary stores of value like gold and silver, the monetary base of the economy largely consists of credit instruments. Against this background, I conclude that the note, despite some language about lawful money explained below, clearly contemplates both disbursement of funds and eventual repayment or settlement in money of account. That is, money of exchange will be welcome, but is not required to repay or settle the note. The factual basis of this conclusion is the reference in the disbursement request and authorization to repayment of that amount of money to Michigan National Bank from the proceeds of the note. That was an exchange of the credit of Bank One plaintiff for credit apparently and previously extended to defendants by Michigan National Bank. Also, there is no reason to believe that plaintiff would refuse a substitution of credit of another bank or banker as complete payment of the defendants. All right. So, so this is Exhibit G. Remember that judge, right? Remember the judge that just got handcuffed? And at the bottom it said hashtag Rico Suave. Okay. So let's look at this. Under U.S. laws, securitization is illegal, primarily because it's fraudulent and causes specific violations of RICO, usury, and antitrust laws. It's the Sherman Act. Securitization of many types of assets, loans, credit cards, auto receivables, intellectual property, etc., has become more prevalent. This article focuses on securitization as it pertains to asset-backed securities and mortgage-backed securities and analyzes critical legal and corporate governance issues. Okay, so let's come down here. And as you see, this has a lot of references. You see, lots of references. Okay. I'm not going into it too deep. I don't want to spend too much time because I know I'm at the little spending time where we need to do this. Now let's go over here to Boyko. So this says that on October 10, 2007, this court issued an order requiring plaintiff lenders in a number of pending foreclosure cases to file a copy of the executed assignment demonstrating plaintiff was the holder and owner of the note and mortgage as of the date the complaint was filed, or the court would enter a dismissal. After considering the submissions along with all the documents filed of record, the court dismisses the captioned cases without prejudice. The court has reached today's determination after a thorough review of all the relevant law and the briefs and arguments recently presented by the parties. Bingo. Now, here's the opinion order. It says the first private foreclosure action based upon federal diversity jurisdiction was filed in this court on February 9, 2007. Since then, 26 additional complaints for foreclosure based upon federal diversity jurisdiction have been filed. So they didn't file 26 other complaints for foreclosure. But each of these complaints for foreclosure pleads standing in jurisdiction. Evidence submitted either with the complaint or later in the case indicates that standing and or subject matter jurisdiction may not have existed at the time certain of the foreclosure complaints were filed. Now, right here, see, this is how, certain states might get to slide these in, but these are very important because what they just said is standing. Standing. Federal courts have only the power authorized by Article 3 of the United States Constitution and the statutes enacted by Congress pursuant thereto. As a result, a plaintiff must have constitutional standing in order for a federal court to have jurisdiction. That's how you beat a case real quick. Where's your standing at? You have none. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm gonna leave that right there because, like I said, today is Tuesday. We got more to bring. So, under the circumstances, the sovereign citizen movement, what is these people doing? Where their interests lie here? What is the FBI doing? What is the government doing? Are they protecting these fraudsters and turning it back on the people under this sovereign citizen movement title? I don't know. Hopefully I did some clarity on that so you guys can kind of take a look into those things. You see what I'm saying? Now, what I want to do is I want to get into, close these out. I want to get into suspect classification. Because we get into misclassification, yeah, we're turning the page. We're turning the page on that. I want to get into the race thing. I want to get into this classification thing because people always say reclassification, misclassification. All those things give power to somebody. What I'm not going to do is I'm not giving nobody any power. I.e., hence, suspect classification. Apply it. Do your research on this. I'm going to put this in the link so you guys can actually take a look. Suspect classification, look into it, and understand what's going on. What's going on, Darvis? What you got in there? You got an Instagram for me? Let me take a look. Where are we at here? Hold on. Let me remove that. Let me come up here. Here we go. All right. Let's see what you got there. Boom. All right, I got you. I'm gonna play that in a second. But yeah, suspect classification is something really important when it comes to our people. I understand Indian, Aboriginal, Indigenous, Negro, Black, colored, African American. You know, I get that. But suspect classification. And then I'm gonna go play because I got two videos from Joy Leary, and I got a video Joy Leary, and I got a video with Frances Cress Welsing. Okay. Beautiful sisters as they are. They still pushed it. They still pushing that classification stuff, this race stuff. We got to be clear and be careful about how we utilize these things because it will put you in a category that you do not want. You see? Now, what is this? Sovereign citizen. Yeah, let me get rid of that. Suspect classification refers to a class of individuals who have been historically subject to discrimination. We can check that box. The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment imposes a restraint on the government use of suspect classification. A restraint. There are 4 generally agreed upon suspect classifications: race, religion, national origin, and citizenship status. I think we could check all 4 of those boxes. However, this is not an exhaustive list. In footnote 4 of the United States versus Caroline United Products Company, this is a case law. The Supreme Court encapsulates this feature through the concept of discrete and insular minorities, which are individuals that are so disfavored and out of the political mainstream that the courts must make extra efforts to protect them because the political system will not. The use of suspect classification is reviewed by courts when a governmental action has disproportionate or disparate impact on a particular group. All right. Now you see where I'm going. You see how this is framed. It's how this whole thing is framed. We could check boxes here without using specific words to identify us. But what we can do, we can utilize those words to reference the usage of them to do what? Discriminate. Leave you out of things. Right. You got all the words that I said, redlining, all that. You even got people that want to be seen as that. And there's people in the public trying to stop it. You understand? Even when people wanted to be called black, they was trying to stop that. You see what I'm saying? Now people want to be made sure they're known as American Indian. American by itself. Aboriginal, indigenous American. And people are trying to stop that. And they're publicly making statements. Trying to get that enforced. People think that's a First Amendment right. That is not a First Amendment right. That is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause. It's a violation of the 14th Amendment. See what I'm saying? But people don't look at it from that perspective. And at the same time, you got courts who are not going out of their way. They're not going out of their way and take the extra efforts to protect these people who have been put in suspect classifications in order to discriminate. It's called discretion, judicial discretion, right? So, judicial discretion. You see what they show? California. Okay. So it says judicial discretion refers to a judge's power to make a decision based on their individualized evaluation. Individualized. And this is what they do. I'm using my own discretion. They like, when it gets to that point where they know they got a rule in your favor, they're going to use their own judicial discretion. and they feel that they're protected. But wait a second. Let's continue reading. Guided by the principles of law, judicial discretion gives courts immense power, which is exercised when legislature allows for it. So now you got the legislature involved. For example, Ohio's Rule of Civil Procedure, Rule 59, allows courts to grant a new trial based on its sound discretion. Let's jump over this. Judicial discretion is granted to the courts out of recognition of each case's individuality, and as such, decision should be based on the case's particular circumstances rather than a rigid application of law. All right. Decisions made under this power, and it's the key part of it. Decisions made under this power have to be sound and not arbitrary, meaning that such decisions have to be made based on what is right and equitable under the circumstances. California has held that an abuse of discretion will be found where the trial court exceeded the bounds of reason. Okay. Now, I don't have it edited, but I would actually show you case law where, because it got names in it, I can actually show you where the only discretion that the judges, the court are to use is to make sure that your rights are protected. That's why it says equitable. Have to be protected. But see, these judges are ignoring all these things. What is the interest in these people to have our people come to court to seek redress, to seek restoration, reparations, repair, and restore, restoration of what is proper in any situation? It doesn't have to be just Indian business, just be a simple case, regardless if you're plaintiff or defendant. Why do they go out of their way to use their discretion to violate you? Why does everybody in that courtroom stay silent, including the bailiff? Or if you're in federal court, the marshal. Why is everybody quiet? People say, well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Yeah, it is. I'm not ignoring the law. This is something that people go to school for. This wasn't taught in class. I don't understand what you're talking about. So explain it to me. Well, it's your job to know. No, it ain't. It's not my job to know the law. But what I do know is that you got a fiduciary duty to protect the people. That's what you took your oath for. Did you or did you not? See, but when we get into this suspect classification, right, this is what's been utilized. So if we're talking about the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, that means you're going at least way back 200 years, almost 150, 160 years. So if we're going back 160 years, that means all of this stuff was in place to make sure that as the United States expands into new occupied territory, that the people that it might encounter might be a little different. And they knew that the United States and the people within the United States and the states that incorporated therein would eventually try to injure or harm or trespass on these people. Now, in order to utilize these plenary actions, they had to create titles. They had to create titles, bywords, descriptions, colorable at that, in order to ignore. We want to talk about ignorance. Ignore these people. Just be ignorant of somebody is be like, I ignore them. They don't mean nothing to me. So I could do anything to them. But Jim Bob is my sister's husband. So what you think he gonna rule for? They have no duty to these people that are considered to be Black, Negro, and colored, African American. We just talking about present terms. They have no allegiance to them. Why? Because a Black, Negro, colored, African American has no base in law. It is not recognized internationally as a protected class. Do I think Black is now? Might be. So we can circumvent that. But let's see what these two sisters got to say, because when you look at it from that perspective, you're putting out those words and how you express them does not resonate. It goes through one ear and out the other. They do not care about a Black, Negro, colored, African American, Creole, mulatto. They don't care nothing about that. So we need to find what they do care about and what they have to care about. You got suspect classification. Because if we were in the suspect classification, I can show proof of that. I can show proof. Yeah. Let's listen to these sisters real quick.
So I asked them, how many of you have ever met a Black person that isn't Black? A Black person that will try to be anything else. Did I mention how much Native American I have in me? Oh, and I understand based on my DNA now that my people come from Switzerland. All of a sudden, anything that I can tell you that will convince you that I'm not Black, right? And everybody Black knows that. Well, I have another word for it. It's called post-traumatic slave syndrome. Post-traumatic slave syndrome is exactly what it sounds like. It's multi-generational trauma, intergenerational trauma, as it relates to people of African descent. Black people in my audience, I ask.
There we go. You look at her, she looks like no African I've ever seen. Zero. But she's, matter of fact, Joy Leary her name is DeGry now. I guess she got married, but her last name is Leary. Joy Leary. And her presentation, her study, and her focus is post-traumatic slave syndrome. And she knows how to put on a presentation. She's very good. Very good. See, but that's played out. Post-traumatic slave syndrome applied to what, though? Africa? Why would they continue to talk about this from that perspective when Africans are saying we don't have no history of that? We have no history of that. None. So if we're talking about post-traumatic slave syndrome for people from Africa, and you're saying it out of that mouth you got with that expression on your face, who are you married to? So obviously your husband is allowing you to speak that way. when he probably knows it's not true. But at the end of the day, it makes good money. See, this is where we put these people in a room and we say, all right, let's talk about it. Let's put up this video. Let's put up this video and let's watch what you just said. Let's put this video up. Let's watch it. Okay, can you break this down? Where's the post-traumatic slave syndrome coming from? You say from Africa. Show me proof. Where'd you get this ideology? Because last time I checked, based on the transatlantic slave trade and all this, because we got to bring in who? I did the American history segments. Who we got to deal with? We got to deal with these Romans and these Moors and these Phoenicians and everything that we see in what we consider to be in Black's Law Dictionary called free white persons. Who are these people? This looks like the Moorish Empire over there in Europe. That's what it looked like. Now, what do you have to say about America? Because you use the word Native American. You're already in an issue here. You know, there was a political party called the Natives, Native American. Are you talking about them? Or are you talking about 1828 definition of what American is? And also what Black's Law says in regards to the Indian, which relates it synonymously with an American. And are you're talking about who these people in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3? These 3/5. Is that who you're saying what we were? 3/5? So we weren't Indians, but we was 3/5. That's been the story. Are you still sticking with that in 2026? Have you not been paying attention? Joy? That is suspect classification. That will be considered to be slander. That will be a defamation of character. That will be libel. And it also could be deemed malicious. Using some strong words, some big words, Gina. Big words, Joy. Listen. You guys got to stop talking. You need to start producing some facts here. You need to put it on the table, and you need to open yourself up to questioning, dialogue. Don't have to be a debate. There is no debate. Dialogue. Talking about it. You see what I'm saying? Because the way she's looking as if, yeah, I got paid. Definitely got paid to keep this going. Because when she first came out, she had a lot of passion. And during that time, you could take it for what it's worth because she was younger then. And, you know, everybody was into that. Slave, you know, the post-traumatic slave, Willie Lynch, all that type of stuff. Everybody was into that from that perspective. But then at the same time, we're like, wait a minute. We were supposed to have civil rights. This was all supposed to have been done through Martin Luther King. We weren't talking about no damn African nothing. We was talking about civil rights movement, where we were supposed to be brought into the United States before we was on the outside. We was brought in. That I could take the slavery out of it, and I could say the same thing that they're saying. I could take slave out of it. And I could say, yeah, we was brought in. Yeah, we was brought in through the Indian Citizenship Act and all these other plenary doctrines. But at the same time, it was done under these suspect classifications. All the states did it. How can we get these people? How can we get access to their land? How can we encumber on them, trespass upon them, get them in our system, lock them up in prison without nobody noticing the difference? And do it in a way where it won't be really recognized and nobody would be none the wiser. And by that time, we would have millions of them all in our system, which they do. See what I'm saying? But nobody's going to have a conversation. They're not. It's just little old me. and people I'm going to bring with me. It's little old me. I'm in my 50s. I'm old enough. You ain't talking to no child. Be respectful. Be nice. Even fly y'all out. Treat y'all like the empresses and the mama chiefs that you are. How about that? Like, let's get into Francis.
In the audience to write about white supremacy behavior. What is your idea about it? Put your idea out there so that you can explain this very considerable behavior on the planet.
I'm not sure you're going to get the majority of the white community to agree that the majority of the white community is engaging in it.
But wait a minute, let me say this. See, I'm not here complaining about what.
You see, this is where you see Bill Donahue. That's Bill Donahue. I think that's Bill Donahue. They even think they're white by status of United States. They think they are. That's why it's called the white supremacists. And you see, Francis is married to a white, was married, she rests in peace right now, was married to a white man. Jewish guy, I think he was. The guy Ashkenazi. See what I'm saying?
People who classify themselves as white. I made an analysis. I said that basically I see that people who classify themselves are trying to survive genetically. And I am not saying you cannot do that. But I am going to say what it is. And I really advocate that non-white people on the planet stop expecting for white people to commit genetic suicide. I'd like.
All right. So, classify. And then she said, so-called white people. And then she backtracked and said white people. So she knows that these people aren't white. She knows that for a fact. Frances Cress Wilson is no slouch. She knows they're not white. That's why she said what she said prior. And then she came over and said non-white people. And then the white people over here, you know, that white people are going to self whatever. She was very careful about what she was saying, but she was saying something. She was always sending out messages. But, you know, you get into a place where, you know, when they get to that age, they just give up. And the only thing they can do is abbreviate and codify. You see.
To know why Jimmy the Greek had to be fired from CBS for his opinions about blacks, and she can come on national TV and give her opinions about white, and she's not going to get fired from her job. White people can't talk anymore. She got it, and then everybody it's ridiculous. And now we have to go write apologies to all black.
Well, I don't think that you can equate what I'm saying to what he said. I mean, you might, and
blacks are moving away from their own.
See, let me say this, that I'm not surprised that, you know, what I'm saying might upset people. Now, if you just look, all of the studies that people who say they're white do on black people, the blacks this and studying the blacks that and studying this, saying this about blacks and saying, I mean, the literature is just packed.
But from a behavioral standpoint, I do not think
we have to have an explanation. See, that the Cress theory, that's one person's idea.
Doctor, are you aware that within your own culture, you also have racism? In other words, my neighbors moved away from the blacks who were moving in next door to us, and so they wanted to move away in order to give their children a better education. I'm talking about Jersey City, where I am coming from.
Your point?
And my point is that you also have racism within your own culture.
What are you saying is the racism?
In other words, blacks do not want to live among blacks. They have their own social order. In other words, if my doctor next door to me is black and he prefers not to live among the culture that's moving in to my neighborhood, this happened. I'm evidence of it happened many years ago.
Well, are you saying that let's say if you address people of Irish descent. If they move because they have a higher income, are you saying they're conducting racism against their own people? I think that you're clouding the issue. I think that you're clouding the issue about black and white. I challenge everybody in.
You see? How are you going to be able to get how are you going to be able to get any type of clarity on how are you going to be able to get any type of clarity on this black and white thing when nobody knows who's black, who's white, where it came from, where it started, and everybody has their own interpretation of it. So, are we saying, close these out, are we saying okay. Are we saying that this is not the definition of white? White came from the Naturalization Act, people. That's where it came from. It came from nowhere else but from the Naturalization Act. I don't see anything dealing with white that we've seen since, where is it at? God damn. Where is it at? Black's Law 4th. Black's Law 4th. Black's Law 4th. We haven't seen anything that's dealing with white people or black people in anything that's dealing with law outside of persons. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. Article 1 deals with persons. That's it. Persons. And we know what these persons are. Why are we still getting debate? Why are we still getting trapped and baited into having these conversations about black and white? If you're using black and white, you should have so-called in front of it. Or if you're going to say, quote. That's the only thing that should go when you're talking about black. The only thing. Damn, where'd that Black's Law Dictionary go? Hold on, let me come right here. All right. I should have a whole list of all these things that I normally go to. I got to keep doing the scrolling thing. But yeah, this is it. Now I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Anybody want to come up, quick build? Here it is right here. All right, A68. Free white persons. All right, so free white persons. All persons belong to the European races, then commonly counted as white. Lowercase w. Not capital, lowercase. This is a part in the Naturalization Act. Remember when we talked about Sovereign Citizen Day or American Citizenship Day, where they mention sovereign citizens, where they say or naturalized, that came of age or naturalized. So if they came of age or naturalized, we're dealing with the Naturalization Act. And then when we're dealing with a person is something to be counted, enumerated, kind of like cattle. Hate to say that, but that's just the way it is. That's why they stated in excluding Indians not taxed, because Indians were not a part of that enumeration or to be counted or naturalized or considered white or otherwise. Once you came into the United States, if you decided to give some allegiance or participate in the United States and in this system of government and everything else in business, then you would take on, if you bring in something to the table, because you're going to bring your land, your commodities, and everything that you have, your wealth, your family, everything, whatever type of engineering, ingenuity, or inventions which you have already, You're bringing it into the United States. That's why Trump was talking about 5 million. Come up in here. Was it 5 million or 500 million? I don't remember, but he was talking about, yeah, if some people want to come up in here to the United States, they must pay, and they will get the Trump card. Right? So under those circumstances, this is what we're doing. This is what is going on here. So we know the difference. But we have somebody like Frances Cress Welsing that obviously looks very indigenous to America. No trace of African anywhere. You can actually connect her to Asia, where you had those people out there. What's their names? I can't even think of them. But even those people out there, because she got an Asian look to her. Those people, you see what I'm saying? Before you can trace her or connect her to an African. I mean, she kind of looked like she could be my relative. See what I'm saying? I got women in my family look like that. So what I'm saying is that we can't get away from this here. We cannot get away from this simple things. This puts you in a suspect classification once you start talking white and black and race. All that deals with suspect classifications, as I just showed. Suspect classifications. You see? Now, we don't need to go over that again. Now, we're gonna get into what Getty was talking about tomorrow. We're gonna talk about this seeded land. So we're gonna try to connect all the dots with this, but hopefully we got some clarity on the banks. I'm gonna keep talking about that. I'm telling you, I'm gonna keep talking about them banks, because if there's not anything else that's more important outside of being indigenous or knowing who you are, where you come from, what's your family lineage, it's about banking. Stop. Yeah. Because that's going to connect the dots with the other stuff as well, with being an Indian, if you claim that to be. Or if you claim yourself to be somebody that was brought over in the transatlantic slave trade. You'll be able to find out some things. But nevertheless, let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat. Anybody want to come up? Come up. Gobble, gobble. I think that's what it is. Gable, gable, gobble, gobble. What's going on? Enots, what it do? Darvis, American Isness, what it do? Why you got that look? What's that look about, Isness? I know. Isness probably think I'm crazy. She'd be like, what are you talking about? Pull that scripture, Nehemiah 5:3-5-7. Hold on, let me pull that up. Oh yeah, let me pull that up. I got Darvis pulled up this. Hold on, there you go. Let me pull up this one real quick. Then I'll pull up Nehemiah. Let me go chill. Hold on, Nehemiah 5:3-5-7. All right, hold on a second. Let's go here. Bam.
Make this stuff up. Y'all, listen to this clip of what Elvis said back in the day. This was back in the day.
They added 1,000 years to the calendar just to hide the fact that the original Jews were the ones running this whole empire before the cleanup. I guess the truth is just a matter of who owns the copyright on the history book. We gave them a fake history. People think the Holy Land's across the sea. Egypt is right here on the Mississippi, and Israel is right here in America. Real Jews aren't who you think. The Moors, the melanated Asiatics, they renamed to steal this inheritance. The real Jews, the true Yehuda, never left home because Israel is right here in America. These people you call black are actually the Asiatic Moors, the original Hebrew royalty that ran this whole empire before the 18th century.
And aren't you afraid of being silenced for challenging the official record? My friend Johnny Cash, he's been out there defending the indigenous community. The original Moors like the Blackfoot because he knows they're the true nobility.
The folks you see over there in Israel now calling themselves Jew are just the Khazarians and Ashkenazi who adopted the culture around the year.
And the crazy part is y'all still be trying to argue with me in my comments. It's the proof is in the pudding. The veil has been lifted, baby. All the truth has been coming out, and y'all too blind to see it. What's going on? Lord,
Davis. Hi. Hold on. Let me get this. Hold on. Let me get back in here. I hear you. I hear you, Davis. Says 5-3 to 57. Let's go over here. Let's see what this scripture's saying. Appreciate everybody coming up here. What up, though, Gobble? What up, though? Let's pull this up real quick. It says 5-3 through 57s. Okay. Let's bring it up. So it says right here. Okay, good one. So this is Nehemiah helps the poor. So it says 5-3. Others were saying, we are mortgaging our fields, our vineyards, and our homes to get grain during the famine. Still others were saying, we have had to borrow money to pay the king's tax on our fields and vineyards, although we are of the same flesh and blood as our fellow Jews, and though our children are as good as theirs. Yet we have to subject our sons and daughters to slavery. Some of our daughters have already been enslaved, but we are powerless because our fields and our vineyards belong to others. All right, let me go ahead and put this in the chat. I hope you don't expect me to read the whole thing. But yeah, let's go here. Let me see if I can find anything else. So the point you're making is that what we were doing to have grain? I mean, we're mortgaging our fields, our vineyards. So you say these are vineyards. So we got vineyards. All right, but let us stop charging interest, give back to them immediately their fields, vineyards, olive groves, and houses, and also the interest you are charging them, 1% of the money, grain, new wine, and olive oil. How did this actually happen? How did this happen, man? Some of our daughters have already been enslaved, but we are powerless because our fields and our vineyards belong to others. How did that happen? Chief I am. How did that happen? I know mortgages, but how did that happen? How did these people gain control of it? And how was they forced to mortgage their stuff that they actually own? Because they're saying it's theirs. So talk to me. Talk to me, brother. You got the floor.
Peace, Aton. Peace to the Hebrews, man. How you doing, huh?
Peace, Ox. Chilling, man. Chilling, man. Break this down a little bit.
You were earlier. You were speaking on the mortgage system, the ability to create interest, titles, and notes off of a signature on a piece of paper, which is commonly referred to as a negotiable instrument, bill of exchange, anything under the BOA Act. So, yeah, I was just showing that this has been going on plus 2,000 years. You know what I mean? Where they're utilizing these instruments to take using nothing of value to gain something of value.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and the Israelites were complaining about these things amongst these foreign nations even back then.
But I noticed something in there. It said, because I think I just answered my own question there. It said that they were all the same people. So these are their own people doing this.
Same as today, right? You're the one who commonly tells everybody, look at these Black Caucus people who are collectively conspiring against the people of the land. You know what I mean? Who look like us, who talk like us, but in speech they are, but in practicality and practitioner, they're not. You know, they're moving against the people. You know, the people who once had over 1 billion acres of land in the U.S. economy. You know, they've created mechanisms to steal these things like mortgages. You know, that's a way to steal the land, even though you have no interest to it. So I was just throwing that in there earlier. This is about an hour ago when I dropped that scripture, but just to give some perspective.
Yeah, that's good perspective. Now, my question is, I mean, why are people so distracted with this black and white stuff? And it's like, you know, you got people like me that's showing you where the bag is. You know what I'm saying? People like, well, go get that bag. But I tell people you're already worth your weight in gold already. You know what I'm saying? You just got to know how to access it. But instead of having to scrape your knuckles and do all these things, you can get creative and learn this system because you got money up on you. This is why I call it the white people kryptonite. That's why I bring white people to talk about this stuff up here, because they're going to listen to that. Now, I'm not talking about people in the chat. I'm just saying as a whole. You know what I'm saying? I mean, talk to me. I mean, we got this right in front of ourselves. We got this right in front of us, Chief I Am. We can actually put our hands on it now. Coach is actually showing you that it's touchable. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
I mean, when you look at even verse 6, what you got on the screen, I believe, it says, when I heard the outcry of these charges, I was very angry. I pondered them in my mind and then accused the nobles and officials. I told them, you are charging your own people interests. So I called together a large meeting to deal with them and said, as far as possible, we have brought back our fellow Jews who were sold to the Gentiles. So not only is this a commercial, slavery is a commercial enterprise, right? And when we think of slavery, we think of like hard bondage. It's one company selling its employees to another company, and then changing the HR. You know what I mean? It's on a mass scale, right? Individually, you know, slavery is you paying a mortgage your whole life that you'll never be able to pay back. Or struggling, you know, because, you know, you'll have good years. You might have a 10-year run where you never miss a payment, and then you break a hip in the 11th year.
Right.
You know, so we're on this line. It's like, you know, 1,000 of us at the most, maybe 2,000. I'm gonna give you 3, right? But there's 46 million of us nationwide. And we're all dealing with these same issues, this commercial game, this construct of entities and how to move within these transmitting utilities. How, you know what I mean? How to wield the power of an entity that only exists within the minds of the people who can read it. You know? So yeah, this has been a consistent gripe of our people. I mean, we've been complaining about it for centuries. The mortgages that these foreign nations put on us, these liens, the sister who was trying to quit claim the land, and she had to figure out that she couldn't use certain language like annulments and encumbrances and liens, and she couldn't use that language because that language put her in a different jurisdiction, so to speak.
Right.
This is all part of it's the true power of the creator to me, to be able to understand the language and not suffer from aphasia. Aphasia, by definition, is a mental disease, which means you can't remember or understand words. It's a psychological defect. So to be able to not suffer from that and to see this whole system for what it is, that's a actual like a superpower or a blessing from the creator.
I'm the coach, coded in oak with a ghost loaded focus. Chroming the coke, king with the cloak, smoking that hocus pocus. Infinite styles, pivot and pilot the mileage. I'm wild with the science. You see the line on my avatar, I drop pride. I had to devour the silence. Why you niggas steady lying? Got me laughing hard. Satire, fraud, I fire the squad. Why you crossing the spawn with all the guards? Author of art, carving a mark in the bar, the market at large. Target the sharks, hard to start, my sharp in the margin with bars. You rather bargain and dodge, I'd rather you come get your taxes done. Black suit, back room, facts in the stack, I'm relaxing the maximum. Get out of the pocket, the profit, the rocket, then I just make tax you punch. Bracket your funds, I'm stacking in chunks, reacting to ashes, you're begging to punch. Sometimes my community, hard-headed, scarred, dreading the lessons. I charred head and start spreading the message, embedded in pressure. Sobbing living, I'm private with it, no corporate percentage. Discharging debt with a pen stroke, you still don't notice the vision. I've been telling y'all you don't want to debate me, weighty and ready. Great with machetes, linguistically shredding the petty. Grab these 15 acres. Landscape major, plan made paper. Land, patent, stamp, and statements. Since my campaign greater. I ain't talking about Ice-T when I say that I can show you law and order. Court recorder, I sort the torture, contort the border. I eat the case, beat the state, leave a trace of the raw supporter. Briefcase aura, got your baby mama thinking that I'm a lawyer. Seminole Indian sentiment, militant on sovereign soil. Private enrollment, tribal component. I'm the boss, if you trying to employ it.
Clutch, baby. Infinite.
You guys are listening. I got the new YouTube, the live that we're about to continue on in another chat. And it's in the chat. So click on that. You got the StreamYard in there if you want to hit the panel. All right, y'all.